The boy was 10 years old. His hands shook as he raised the pistol. "Leave my mother alone." The deputy turned surprised. For one frozen moment, nobody moved. Then Owen fired. The bullet hit Marcus Grant in the shoulder, spinning him around like a broken puppet. The deputy's gun clattered to the floor. His face twisted in shock and pain. A 10-year-old boy had just shot a grown man to save his family. But to understand how they got here, to this moment of violence and desperation, you have to go back. Back to the day a man bought a family for $12. Back to when it all began. $12. $12 in American coin. That was the sum they paid for Claire Brennan and her 3 children on a winter afternoon in January of 1885 in the town square of Ashford, Colorado. Not the price of a good horse, not the price of an acre of land, but the price of a family. The auctioneer's hammer fell like a gunshot. Claire felt it in her bones, that final crack of wood against wood that meant her children now belonged to someone else. She pulled her 5-year-old daughter tighter against her chest and watched the stranger count out bills with hands that looked like they had broken things. Broken people. The crowd dispersed slowly, their boots crunching through fresh snow. They moved like people who had just bought cattle, not a pregnant woman begging for mercy with 3 terrified children clinging to her ragged skirts. Owen, 10 years old and rigid with fury, stood in front of his mother with his small fists raised. He was ready to fight grown men twice his size, men who laughed at his defiance like it was the funniest thing they had seen all winter. 7-year-old Ben could not stop crying. His face was red and swollen, his breath coming in painful gasps that made his whole body shake. He had his arms wrapped around Claire's leg and refused to let go. And Lily, sweet, silent Lily. The 5-year-old girl stared at nothing with eyes that had gone somewhere far away. She had not spoken a single word in 6 weeks, not since the mine collapsed, not since they brought her father's body up from the darkness, with his face covered in blood and mud and the terrible stillness of death. The stranger who had just bought them walked toward them through the dispersing crowd. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with dark hair going gray at the temples and a beard that had not seen a razor in weeks. But it was his eyes that stopped Claire cold. Empty eyes, flat eyes, the eyes of a man who had seen too much and stopped caring about any of it. He stopped a few feet away and spoke in a voice low and rough like gravel being dragged across stone. "You Claire Brennan?" "Yes." Her voice came out as barely a whisper. "These your children?" "Yes." He looked at Owen, at Ben, still crying, at Lily's blank face pressed against Claire's shoulder. Then he looked at her belly swollen with the child she had been carrying for 6 months. "That one too." Claire's hand moved protectively over her stomach. "Yes." The stranger nodded once. "My wagon's at the end of the street. We leave in 10 minutes. You got belongings?" "Nothing." The word tasted like ash in her mouth. "They took everything." "Then we leave now." He turned and started walking. Claire did not move. She could not move. Her feet had become part of the frozen ground beneath her. The stranger stopped and turned back. Something flickered in those dead eyes. Not anger, not impatience. Just a kind of weary resignation, like a man who had walked this road before and knew exactly how hard it would be. "You coming or not? Where are you taking us?" Claire's voice was stronger now, maternal instinct overriding fear. The question hung in the frozen air between them. Behind Claire, she could feel the remaining crowd watching, waiting hungry for whatever came next. The stranger looked at her for a long moment. Snow had begun to fall again, catching in his hair and on his shoulders. When he spoke, his words carried a weight that made Claire believe them, despite every reason not to. "My ranch, 20 miles north. And before you ask why, I'll tell you this much. I got $12 worth of reasons to keep you alive. And where I'm taking you, nobody's going to sell you again." He turned and kept walking, his boots leaving deep prints in the snow. Claire looked down at her children, at Owen's fury, at Ben's terror, at Lily's terrible silence. Then she followed the stranger into the gathering storm. This was not a story about a man who saved a family. This was a story about a family who saved a man dying from the inside out. And it all began with $12. But to understand how they arrived at that auction block, with Claire's children being sold like livestock, and a dead-eyed stranger as their only hope, you had to go back 6 months. Back to a summer day, when the world was still warm, and Claire Brennan still believed that good things could last forever. Robert Brennan died on July 15, 1884. He was 30 years old, a good man, an honest man, the kind of man who worked himself half to death in the copper mines around Silver Creek to provide for his family. He never drank more than a single beer on Saturday nights. He said his prayers before meals. He kissed his wife every morning before descending into the earth and every evening when he came back up. Until the morning he did not come back up. The mine shaft collapsed at 10 in the morning. Lily was with Claire at the entrance, bringing Robert his lunch the way she did every day. The little girl loved those moments with her father. He would scoop her up and spin her around and tell her she was his sunshine, his little wildflower, the best thing that ever happened to him. When the earth shook and the screaming started, Lily was still holding the lunch pail. They brought the bodies up 3 hours later. 7 men dead. Robert Brennan was the third one they carried past, where Lily stood frozen, watching, unable to look away and unable to understand that the broken mud-covered thing with blood on its face was her papa. She had not spoken since. 3 days after the funeral, Victor Brennan came to call. He was Robert's younger brother, though you would never know it to look at them. Where Robert had been rough and weathered from years of hard labor, Victor was elegant. He wore expensive suits tailored in Denver. His boots were polished to a mirror shine. His hair was combed back with oil that smelled of lavender and money. He was also the judge of Silver Creek County, which meant he had power. Real power. The kind that could make a person's life very good or very bad, depending on which side of him you landed on. Claire did not like Victor. She had never liked him, not in the 8 years she had been married to Robert. There was something about the way he looked at her. Something about the way his voice changed when Robert was not in the room. Something cold and calculating behind those handsome features. But she was a widow now with 3 children and another on the way, and very little choice about who she welcomed into her home. Victor sat in her kitchen and drank the coffee she served him and told her how sorry he was about Robert, how tragic it all was, how he had loved his brother dearly and would miss him terribly. Then he told her about the $800. Robert borrowed it from me 2 years ago, Victor said, his voice smooth as honey, for the down payment on this house. I did not press him for repayment while he was alive. He was my brother. Family helps family. But now that he's gone, Claire, I'm afraid the debt passes to you. Claire's hands went cold. $800. I have the paperwork. Victor pulled a folded document from his jacket pocket and laid it on the table between them. Sign it and witnessed. It's all legal. Claire stared at the paper without touching it. $800. She did not have $8, let alone 800. Robert's wages from the mine had stopped the day he died. The company did not pay death benefits. She had maybe $30 in total, saved over years of careful budgeting. I cannot pay that, she said quietly. I know. Victor's voice carried a note of sympathy that did not reach his eyes. And I'm not a cruel man, Claire. I understand your situation, which is why I have a proposition. Claire looked up at him. The children, Victor said, Owen, Ben, and little Lily. They are Brennan blood. They belong to this family, and they need a father. A proper father who can provide for them, give them opportunities, education, a future. They have a mother who is about to have another child, a mother with no income, no prospects. Victor leaned forward. Claire, I'm trying to help you. Let me take the children. I'll raise them properly. They'll want for nothing, and the debt will be forgiven. You can keep the house. Start over. Claire felt ice water in her veins. You want to take my children. I want to save them from poverty, from hunger, from watching their mother work herself to death, trying to provide something she simply cannot give them. No. The word came out harder than Claire intended. No, they're my children. I won't give them up. Victor's face changed. Just for a moment, the mask slipped, and Claire saw what lived underneath. Something cold, something possessive, something that made her skin crawl. Then he smiled, and the moment passed. Think about it, he said, standing. You have until the end of the month. Either repay the debt or sign the papers giving me guardianship. Those are your options. The law is very clear on this matter, and I am, after all, a judge. He put on his hat and walked to the door. Then he paused and looked back. I loved Robert, Victor said. He was my brother, but he was never very practical. He married a woman with more spirit than sense. He had children he could not afford. He died owing money he could never repay. And now his family suffers for his mistakes. Robert was a good man. Robert was a fool. Victor's voice had gone cold, now the pretense of sympathy abandoned. But his children do not have to be. They can have a real future. With me. Or they can starve with you. Your choice, Claire. He left. The door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded like a cell door locking. Claire made her choice that night. She packed what little they could carry, took the $30 from beneath the floorboard where Robert had hidden it, and ran. For 3 months she ran, north into the mountains, west toward the territories, east back toward the plains when Victor's hired men got too close. They lived in barns and abandoned cabins. They ate what Claire could buy or steal. They kept moving because stopping meant being caught. Owen changed during those months. The boy who had laughed and played became something harder, something older than his 10 years. He slept with a knife under his blanket. He walked behind Claire, watching the road for anyone following. He became the man his father's death had forced him to be. Ben just cried. At first it was loud body-shaking sobs that Claire tried to quiet for fear someone would hear. Then it became softer, constant, like he had forgotten how to do anything else. And Lily just watched, silent, distant, like she was looking at the world through thick glass that nothing could penetrate. In November, Marcus Grant caught them in a town called Ashford. Marcus was Victor's foreman, a big man, scarred and mean, with a reputation for getting things done no matter what the cost. He had been hunting them since August with the kind of patient determination that made Claire's blood run cold. He found them in a boarding house on the edge of town. Claire had been so tired, so desperate for a real bed and a hot meal that she had taken the risk. It cost her everything. Marcus dragged them before the town magistrate, showed the debt papers, explained that Mrs. Brennan had fled her legal obligations, demanded the law force her to honor her husband's debts. The magistrate, an old drunk who could barely read the documents Marcus shoved in front of him, ruled that according to Colorado territorial law regarding debtors, Claire Brennan and her dependents could be sold at public auction to satisfy the debt. It was not legal. Not really. But Ashford was a small town with no real law and no one who cared enough to challenge a judge's foreman with hired guns at his back. So they put Claire and her children on the auction block like livestock. And that was where Cole Hartley found them. Cole had not meant to be in town that day. He had not meant to be anywhere that day. The only reason he left his ranch at all was because he had run out of coffee 3 weeks ago, and even a man who wanted to die still wanted his morning coffee. He woke before dawn, as he always did. Sleep had become something that happened to other people, not to him, not since Catherine died. The cabin was cold. Cole built up the fire and made himself get dressed. Most mornings he did not bother. Most mornings he sat in his chair and stared at the wall and waited for a reason to move that never came. But today, the coffee was gone, and there was nothing else to drink, and the silence of the cabin pressed in on him like a living thing. He saddled his horse, a 12-year-old mare named Copper, who had been Catherine's favorite. The horse was patient with him, which was good because Cole's hands did not work right anymore. They shook sometimes. Forgot how to do simple things like buckle a strap or button a shirt. Grief did that to a man, made him forget how his own body worked. Before riding away, Cole walked to the 3 graves behind his cabin. He did this every morning. It was the only ritual he still kept. Catherine's grave was in the middle with Anna on her right and Rose on her left. Cole had carved the markers himself, spending weeks on the letters to make sure they were perfect. Catherine Hartley, beloved wife and mother. Anna Hartley, forever 6 years old. Rose Hartley, forever 4. 4 years they had been in the ground. 4 years since the fever took them while Cole was away tracking a man who had killed a deputy in Santa Fe. 4 years since he came home to find the neighbors had already buried his family, and there was nothing left to do but stare at 3 wooden crosses and know he would never see their faces again. Going to town today, Cole said to Catherine's grave. He always talked to Catherine. She was the only person who ever really listened to him. First time in 3 months. Need supplies. I'll come back. He paused, his throat tight. I miss you. I miss them. I do not know how to keep doing this. The graves did not answer. They never did. Cole rode to Ashford in silence. It took 2 hours. The town was bigger than he remembered, or maybe he had just forgotten what it felt like to be around other people. Buildings lined a main street churned to mud by horses and wagons. People moved between them with purpose, going about their lives like living was the most natural thing in the world. Cole did not know how they did it. He tied copper outside Eleanor Hayes's general store and went inside. Eleanor was behind the counter, 60 years old and sharp-eyed, watching him with the kind of expression that said she knew exactly how long it had been since his last visit. "Cole Hartley," she said. "3 months since I last saw you. Figured you died up there in that cabin." "Not yet." Cole's voice came out rough from disuse. "Catherine would not have wanted you living like this. Catherine is dead." The words came out harsher than Cole intended. "So it does not much matter what she would have wanted." Eleanor's face softened. She was one of the few people in town who had known Catherine, who had come to the funeral when Cole could not bring himself to say the words to put his family in the ground. "What do you need?" she asked quietly. "Coffee, flour, salt, whatever I can afford with this." Cole put $4 on the counter. It was all the money he had. Eleanor started pulling supplies. As she worked, a commotion rose outside. Voices. The sound of a crowd gathering. "What is that?" Cole asked. Eleanor looked toward the window, her mouth tightening. "Auction! They are selling a widow and her children. Victor Brennan's doing." Victor Brennan, the judge over in Silver Creek. "The same, most vile man who ever wore a black robe. Woman's name is Claire something. Her husband died. She ran from paying the debt. Victor's man caught her. Now they are selling her off to satisfy what she owes." Something in Cole's chest tightened. They are selling a woman and her children. 3 of them. One's just a little girl, maybe 5 years old. Has not spoken since her father died, they say. Eleanor shook her head. "It is not right, but nobody's going to stand up to Victor Brennan's man. Not in this town." Cole walked to the window and looked out. The crowd had gathered in the square. In the center, on a makeshift platform, stood a young woman heavy with child. 3 children clung to her. Even from here, Cole could see the terror on their faces, and he could see the boy. 10 years old at most, standing in front of his mother with his fists raised, ready to fight the whole world. Cole felt something he had not felt in 4 years. Anger, real anger, the kind that burns, the kind that makes you want to tear everything apart just to make one thing right. He watched the little girl silent and still, and remembered Anna, 6 years old and laughing as she spun in circles in the spring grass. Remembered Rose, 4 years old and always asking questions about everything. Remembered coming home to graves instead of voices. "I could have been there," Cole said quietly. "If I had not gone after that bounty, if I had just stayed home." "Cole," Eleanor's voice was gentle, "the fever would have taken them whether you were there or not. I would have been there. They would not have dated alone. They had each other, Catherine and the girls. And the neighbors came as soon as word got out. They were not alone." But Cole had been alone. For 4 years, he had been more alone than any human being should ever have to be. He watched the auction, watched them sell that woman and her children for almost nothing, $12. The auctioneer could barely get anyone to bid at all. And Cole thought about Catherine, about what she would say if she could see him now. If she could see him standing in this general store while a mother and 3 children were being sold on a platform in the snow, she would have been ashamed of him. "Put my supplies on account," Cole said. "I will pay you next month." "Cole, you do not have to do this." "I know." He walked outside. The crowd was dispersing. The auction was over. The woman and her children stood on the platform looking lost and terrified and utterly defeated. Cole pushed through the remaining people and spoke in a voice loud enough to carry. $12. The auctioneer turned. He was a weasel-faced man named Silas, who made his living selling things that should never be sold. "Auction's over, friend, already sold." "To who?" "To me." A man stepped forward. Late 30s, hard eyes, a deputy's badge pinned to his coat. Marcus Grant. Cole knew him by reputation. Everyone did. "How much did you pay?" Cole asked. "None of your business." $12, Silas said nervously. "But like I said, it's done." Cole pulled out the $4 from his pocket. Then he reached into his saddlebag and found the small leather pouch Catherine had kept hidden in the cabin. The last of her jewelry money, $8 in silver coins. He had been saving it for something. He did not know what, just something that mattered. This mattered. I will pay $13, Cole said. Marcus Grant's face went dark. The auction is over. Auction is over when I say it is over, Silas said, looking at the $13 in Cole's hand like he was seeing salvation itself. I got a higher bid. Fair is fair. You do not want to do this, Marcus said to Cole. Cole looked at him, really looked at him, saw the violence barely contained beneath the deputy's badge, saw the kind of man who would hunt a pregnant woman and her children for months just to collect a bounty. Probably not, Cole said, but I am doing it anyway. For a moment, Marcus Grant looked like he might go for his gun. His hand twitched toward the pistol at his hip. The crowd had gone silent, everyone watching, waiting to see if blood was about to be spilled. Then Marcus smiled. It was not a pleasant smile. Victor's going to want to know about this. About you. You tell Victor whatever you want. Oh, I will. I will tell him all about Cole Hartley, the ranger who lost his family. The man who lives alone in the mountains because he cannot stand to be around anything living. You think buying this woman is going to fix what's broken in you. You think playing hero is going to bring them back. The words hit like physical blows. Cole's hands clenched into fists. But he did not move, did not rise to the bait, just stood there, waiting until Marcus finally turned and walked away. Silas took the $13 and scurried off like the rat he was. Cole turned to face the woman on the platform. She was young, maybe late 20s. Brown hair, brown eyes wide with fear. One hand on her swollen belly, the other holding the shoulder of the silent little girl. The 10-year-old boy stepped between them. Do not touch my mother. Cole crouched down so he was eye level with the boy. Up close, he could see the exhaustion in the child's face, the weight he had been carrying for far too long. I am not going to touch her. My name is Cole Hartley. I just bought you. But not to hurt you, not for any reason you are thinking. My wagon is at the end of the street. We leave in 10 minutes. Where are you taking us? The woman asked. Her voice shook but did not break. Cole stood and met her eyes. Somewhere safe, somewhere Victor Brennan will not find you. How do you know about Victor? I know about men like Victor, and I know that if I leave you here, whatever happens next will be worse than anything I might do. So you can come with me, or you can stay. Your choice. The woman looked at her children, at the boy ready to fight, at the younger son crying, at the daughter who had stopped speaking. Then she looked at Cole. What do you want from us? It was the right question. The smart question. Cole respected her for asking it. Nothing, he said. I want nothing. I have a ranch 20 miles north. It is not much, but it is warm and it is safe. You can stay until you figure out what comes next. That is all. No strings, no debt. Why would you do that for strangers? Cole looked at the little girl, at her blank face and dead eyes, saw Anna in her, saw Rose, saw all the children he would never see grow up. Because I had a wife once, he said quietly, and 2 daughters, and they died while I was away. And every day for 4 years I have asked myself what the point of living is if I am not going to do anything worth living for. The woman's eyes filled with tears. Come with me, Cole said, please. She nodded. The journey to the ranch took 2 hours. Cole drove the wagon in silence while Claire sat on the bench beside him, trying not to shake. The 3 children huddled in the back under blankets, Owen watching Cole's every move with suspicious eyes. Snow fell steadily. The world had gone white and quiet, muffling sound, erasing tracks. Cole was glad for it. The snow would make them harder to follow. 20 minutes into the ride, the younger boy spoke. Mister, you bought us for $13. Cole glanced back. The boy had red eyes from crying but had finally stopped. He looked curious now. Just a child asking a question. 12, Cole said. The auctioneer said 12, so I paid 13 to outbid the other man. Papa always said a good horse cost $20. Your pop was right. So we are worth less than a horse. Cole was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Your pop was wrong about one thing. You cannot measure worth in dollars. Some things cost nothing and matter more than anything. And some things cost everything and are not worth a damn. The boy thought about this. What are you going to do with us? Nothing. You are going to stay at my place until your mother figures out what to do next. Then you are going to leave, that is all. Nobody does nothing for free, Owen said from the back. What do you want from my mother? Cole met the boy's eyes in the reflection of the snow, saw the fear and anger there, understood it completely. Your mother is safe with me, you have my word. The word of a stranger does not mean much. Then watch me. Judge me by what I do, not what I say. That is fair. Owen did not answer, but his grip on the knife hidden in his coat relaxed slightly. Claire finally spoke. Why do you live alone? The question hung between them. Cole kept his eyes on the road ahead. I had a wife, he said finally, Catherine, and 2 daughters. Anna was 6, Rose was 4. Where are they? Dead, 4 years ago. Fever. Claire's hand moved toward him, then stopped. I'm so sorry. I was hunting a man who killed a deputy in Santa Fe. Was gone 2 weeks. When I got back, they had been in the ground for 3 days. Neighbors buried them. I did not even get to say goodbye. The words came out flat, empty, like he was talking about someone else's life. That was not your fault, Claire said softly. I chose to go. Chose the job over staying home, and I lost everything because of it. You could not have known. No, but I made the choice anyway, and I have been living with it ever since. They rode in silence for a while. Snow continued to fall. The world narrowed to just the wagon and the road, and the 2 horses pulling them north. Thank you, Claire said eventually, for what you did today, for buying us, for taking us somewhere safe. I do not know how to repay you. I do not want repayment. Why are you doing this? Cole looked at her, really looked at her, saw the strength in her face despite the fear, saw a woman who had run for 3 months to protect her children, who had been sold like property and still had the courage to ask hard questions. Because when I saw you on that platform, Cole said, when I saw your children terrified, and that man with the badge looking at you like you were his property, I felt something I have not felt in 4 years. I felt angry, really. And I thought if Catherine could see me now, if she could see me standing by while a mother and her children were sold, she would be ashamed of me. And I am already carrying so much shame I do not think I can carry anymore. Claire's eyes filled with tears. She reached out and touched his arm just briefly. Catherine sounds like she was a good woman. She was. She was everything good. And when she died, she took all the good parts of me with her. I do not believe that. You should. The ranch appeared as the sun started to set. It was small, a log cabin, a barn, a chicken coop, and a corral where 2 horses stood watching their approach. Claire saw the 3 graves first. They were behind the cabin marked with wooden crosses. Fresh flowers lay on each one despite the snow. They are buried here, she asked softly. Yes, this was our home. I could not leave them. Cole helped Claire down from the wagon. Her belly was heavy and she moved slowly, exhausted from the day. He lifted the younger children down while Owen climbed down, himself refusing any help. Inside, Cole said, it is warmer. The cabin was simple but well kept. 1 main room with a fireplace and a cook stove. 1 bedroom off to the side. A loft above reached by a ladder. Pictures hung on the walls. A woman with dark hair and a bright smile. 2 little girls, one older than the other, both laughing. Claire looked at them, and her heart broke for this man who lived surrounded by ghosts. The bedroom is yours, Cole said. You and the children. I sleep in the loft. There are blankets. Everything you need. Owen stepped forward. You are not going to sleep in the room with my mother. Cole met his eyes, understood exactly what the boy was really asking. No, this is not that kind of arrangement. Your mother is a guest, a person I am helping. Nothing more. She has her own space, her own privacy. I will not cross that line. You have my word. Owen studied him for a long moment, then nodded slightly. I will make something to eat, Cole said. Dinner was simple, salt pork and beans and cornbread that was a day old but still soft enough to be good. The children ate like they had not seen food in days, which was probably close to the truth. Cole watched them. Watched the mother cut food for the youngest boy. Watched the older boy eat with one hand keeping the other free. Watched the little girl who did not speak but whose eyes tracked every movement in the room. Lily, Cole said gently, that is a pretty name. My daughter Anna loved lilies. They were her favorite flower. Lily looked at him. Just for a moment, something flickered in those empty eyes. Not much, but something. After dinner, Claire put the children to bed. The boys went down easily exhausted beyond their ability to resist. But Owen refused to sleep in the bedroom. "I will keep watch," he said. "Someone has to." "Let him," Cole said when Claire started to protest. "I understand. I put a bedroll by the fire. He can sleep there." Claire looked at her son, at the boy who had become a man too soon, then nodded. When the children were settled, Claire came back out to the main room. Cole was sitting at the table cleaning his rifle. "You do not sleep?" she asked. "Not much, not anymore." She sat down across from him. "May I ask you something?" "Yes." "That man at the auction, Marcus Grant, he knew you. He said things about you losing your family, about you living alone because you cannot stand to be around living things. Is that true?" Cole set down the rifle. His hands were steady now. Working with them always steadied them. "Yes. After Catherine and the girls died, I could not be around people. Could not stand the way they looked at me. The pity, the careful questions. So I came out here, 20 miles from the nearest town, and I have been here ever since. 4 years. 4 years. That is a long time to be alone. I deserve it. Do you—" Claire's voice was soft but firm. "Or are you punishing yourself for something that was not your fault?" Cole looked at her. This woman who had lost everything and was still fighting, who had been sold like property and was still asking questions, who had every reason to be broken and was somehow still whole. "Catherine used to say something," Cole said quietly. "She said the most dangerous men are not the ones who kill without thinking. They are the ones who do not understand what they are capable of. She said knowing what you can do, what you have done, makes you careful, makes you choose." She was wise. She was everything I was not. And when she was gone, I did not know how to be the man she thought I was. Claire reached across the table and took his hand. Her palm was warm against his cold fingers. "Then maybe," she said, "it is time to remember." They sat like that for a while, hands joined across the table, neither speaking. Outside, snow continued to fall. The wind picked up, rattling the windows. Then they heard it. Hoofbeats, faint but getting closer. Cole was on his feet instantly, rifle in hand. "Inside," he said. "Wake the children. Now." "Who is it?" "I do not know, but nobody comes here at this hour with good intentions." Claire ran to the bedroom. Cole moved to the window, staying back from the glass, watching the darkness. 3 riders, maybe 4, coming slow and careful up the road to his ranch. Cole's hands were steady now. His heart was steady. For the first time in 4 years, he had something worth protecting again. And whoever was coming was about to learn what that meant. The riders stopped 50 yards from the cabin, 4 of them silhouettes against the moonlit snow. For a long moment, nobody moved. Cole stood at the window with his rifle raised, his finger resting on the trigger. Behind him, he could hear Claire gathering the children in the bedroom, her voice low and urgent. Then one of the riders called out, "Cole Hartley, it's James Mercer. I'm alone and unarmed. The others are with me for protection, not for fighting. I need to talk to you." Cole's grip on the rifle loosened slightly. James Mercer. He knew that name, knew the man. They had worked together years ago when Cole was still a ranger, and Mercer was a deputy in Santa Fe. A good man, an honest man, as honest as any lawman could be. But that was before Catherine died, before Cole became the kind of man who lived alone in the mountains and did not trust anyone. "What do you want Mercer to help you? Can I come closer?" Cole thought about it, thought about the woman and children in his cabin, thought about Victor Brennan and the fact that buying Claire at that auction had probably made him some very dangerous enemies. "Come slow," Cole said. "Hands where I can see them. The others, stay put." One rider separated from the group and walked his horse forward. As he came into the light spilling from the cabin windows, Cole could see him clearly. Mercer was in his 50s now, gray in his beard but still solid. Still the kind of man you wanted at your back in a fight. He stopped 20 feet from the porch and dismounted slowly, keeping his hands visible. "Can I come inside? It's cold, and what I have to say should not be said where others might hear." Cole opened the door but kept the rifle ready. "You alone?" Mercer nodded to his men and walked to the cabin. Up close, Cole could see the lines of worry on his face. the way his eyes kept moving to the windows, watching the darkness beyond. Inside, Claire stood by the bedroom door with Owen beside her. The boy had his knife out again. "Ma'am," Mercer said, removing his hat, "I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here because Cole is in danger, and you are the reason why." "Explain," Cole said. Mercer sat at the table without being invited. He was that kind of man. Direct. No time for formalities when the situation was serious. "Victor Brennan knows what you did today." Marcus Grant rode straight back to Silver Creek and told him everything. About you buying Claire and the children. About you taking them. Victor is furious. He has been hunting this woman for 3 months, and you just took her right out from under him. She is not his to take. Legally she is, or close enough that Victor can make a case. The debt is real. The auction was legal, at least in Ashford, where nobody questioned it. And Victor is a judge. He has the law on his side. The law that lets men sell women and children. I am not saying it is right. I am saying it is the law, and Victor will use it. Cole set the rifle against the wall but stayed standing. "What do you want, James?" "I want to help you. You saved my life in Leadville. You remember that?" Cole remembered. A gunfight in an alley. Mercer bleeding out from a knife wound. Cole carrying him 2 miles to a doctor, while men with guns hunted them both. That was a long time ago. Debt does not expire just because time passes. I owe you. And I am going to repay that debt by telling you something that could cost me my badge if Victor finds out. He looked at Claire. "Marry her." Claire's breath caught. Owen stepped forward angry, but Cole held up a hand. "Keep talking. Right now she is a runaway widow. Those children are her late husband's orphans. Victor is the uncle. He has legal standing to claim guardianship. But if she is married to you, different law applies. She becomes your wife. The children become your stepchildren. Victor's claim gets much weaker. Marriage of convenience does not hold up in court. It does if it is real. Legal ceremony, witnessed, registered with the county clerk." Mercer leaned forward. "I know Pastor Allen in Silver Creek. Good man, honest. He will perform the ceremony and file the papers before Victor can stop him. Once it is done, once it is official, Victor cannot just take her. He would have to challenge the marriage itself, and that is much harder." Claire found her voice. "Why would you risk helping us?" "Because I know Victor Brennan. I have seen what he does to people who get in his way. And I know Cole Hartley. I owe him my life. If I can repay that debt by helping him protect you and your children, then that is what I am going to do." He stood and put his hat back on. "Think about it, but think fast. Victor has men, a lot of men, and he is not going to stop until he gets what he wants. Marriage is your best defense. Maybe your only one." He walked to the door, then paused. "Cole, I heard about Catherine and the girls. I am sorry. I should have come to see you, should have done something. There was nothing to do. Maybe not, but I should have tried anyway." Mercer looked at Claire and the children. "You got something worth protecting now. Do not make the same mistake twice." He left. The sound of hoofbeats faded into the night. Cole and Claire sat at the table in silence. Owen had gone back to his bedroll by the fire, but was clearly listening to every word. "He is right," Claire said quietly. "Victor will not stop. He has been hunting us for 3 months. He will not give up just because you bought us at an auction. So we run and go where, how far can we get before he finds us? I am 6 months pregnant. The children are exhausted. Winter is coming." She looked at him. "I cannot keep running." "Then what do you want to do?" Claire's hands were shaking. She pressed them flat against the table to make them still. "If we get married, would it really protect us?" "I do not know. Mercer thinks so. But marriage is not something to take lightly." "I am not taking it lightly. I am thinking about my children, about the baby I am carrying, about what happens if Victor catches us again." She met his eyes. "Can you protect us?" "I can try." "That is not what I asked." Cole was quiet for a long moment. Outside, the wind rattled the windows. Snow continued to fall. "Yes," he said finally, "I can protect you. I have killed men before. I will do it again if I have to. But once we go down this road, once we make Victor Brennan an enemy, there is no going back. He will come for us. And when he does, it will be violent. He is already my enemy. But not mine, not yet. If we do this, I am putting myself between you and a powerful man who will not hesitate to destroy me to get what he wants. Claire reached across the table and took his hand. Why would you do that? Why would you risk everything for strangers? Cole looked at their joined hands, at the way her fingers wrapped around his. He had not touched another person in 4 years, had not felt another human being's warmth. Because I am tired of being alone, he said quietly. Because I am tired of waking up every morning and walking to those graves and asking why I am still alive when everyone I loved is dead. Because when I saw you on that platform today, I felt something I thought was dead inside me. And maybe if I can save you, I can figure out how to save myself. Tears ran down Claire's face. Then yes, she said, I will marry you. Not because I love you, not because I am trying to replace your wife, but because my children need a father and you need a reason to keep living. And maybe that is enough. They rode to Silver Creek at dawn, Cole, Claire, and the 3 children. Mercer had left his deputy badge with Cole along with directions to Pastor Allen's church and a note explaining the situation. The town was bigger than Ashford, more prosperous. Buildings made of real lumber instead of rough-hewn logs. A bank, a hotel, 3 saloons. This was Victor Brennan's town, his territory. Cole felt eyes on them as they rode down the main street. News traveled fast in small towns. By now, everyone probably knew about the auction, about the stranger who bought Claire Brennan and took her into the mountains. They found the church at the end of town. It was small, white-painted wood with a simple cross above the door. Pastor Allen was in the graveyard behind it tending to the plots. He was 65, thin and gray, with kind eyes and hands that shook slightly from age. He read Mercer's note twice, then looked at Claire and the children. You are running from Victor Brennan. Yes, Claire said, and you want me to marry you to this man to protect you from Victor's legal claim. Yes. Pastor Allen folded the note carefully. Victor Brennan is one of the most powerful men in this county. He donates generously to this church. He sits in the front pew every Sunday. If I do this, he will be angry. Very angry. Claire's hope began to crumble. But then the pastor smiled. Good, he said. It is about time someone stood up to that man. Come inside. The ceremony took 10 minutes. There were no flowers, no music, no guests except the children watching with wide eyes from the front pew. Pastor Allen read from his Bible in a steady voice. Asked Cole if he would take Claire as his wife to have and to hold in sickness and in health as long as they both lived. Cole looked at this woman he had known for less than a day, this stranger who was about to become his family. I do. Asked Claire if she would take Cole as her husband, knowing that it meant binding herself to a man she barely knew, trusting him with her life and the lives of her children. Claire looked at Cole, at the strength in his face, at the sadness in his eyes, at the way he stood like a man ready to fight the world, if that was what it took. I do. Then by the power given to me by God in the territory of Colorado, I pronounce you husband and wife. Pastor Allen closed his Bible. You may kiss your bride. Cole leaned forward. For a moment, Claire thought he would kiss her lips. Instead, he pressed his lips gently to her forehead. A promise, not a claim. You are safe now, he said quietly. Behind them, Ben started clapping uncertainly. Owen sat rigid, his face unreadable. And Lily watched with those empty eyes that saw everything and showed nothing. Pastor Allen produced papers for them to sign. Marriage certificate, legal and binding. He signed as witness and promised to file it with the county clerk that afternoon. Thank you, Claire said. Do not thank me. Just be careful. Victor will not take this well. They were walking back to the wagon when Marcus Grant stepped out of the general store across the street. He stopped when he saw them. His eyes went to Claire, then to Cole, then to the church behind them. Understanding dawned on his face, then rage. Well, he said, his voice carrying across the muddy street. Mrs. Brennan, or should I say Mrs. Hartley now, Cole stepped in front of Claire. Walk away, Marcus. Mr. Brennan is going to want to hear about this, about you marrying his brother's widow, about you taking his children. They are my children now, legally. Tell Victor whatever you want. Marcus's hand moved toward his gun. 2 other men had emerged from the store behind him. Rough-looking men with guns on their hips and meanness in their eyes. The street had gone quiet. People stopped to watch. This was entertainment. This was blood about to be spilled. Cole's hands were steady. He had done this before, had faced down men with guns more times than he could count. The old instincts were still there, buried under 4 years of grief, but not forgotten. I do not want to kill you, Cole said, but I will if you draw that weapon. 3 against 1. You like those odds? I have faced worse. Marcus smiled. Maybe, but you got a wife now and children. That changes things. This makes a man careful. Makes him weak. No, Cole said, it makes him dangerous. Because now I have something worth dying for. Do you? For a long moment, Marcus stared at him. The other two men shifted nervously, hands near their guns but not quite ready to draw. Then a voice cut through the tension. That is enough. An old woman stepped out of the general store. She was in her 60s, gray hair pulled back, dressed in black. She carried a walking stick but stood straight and strong. Marcus Grant, you put your hand on that pistol and I will take this stick to your head. These are decent people. They just got married in a church. You got no cause to threaten them. This is not your business, Eleanor. Everything in this town is my business. I have lived here 40 years. I knew Robert Brennan. Good man, nothing like his brother. And if his widow has found someone to protect her from Victor's cruelty, then I say God bless her. More people had gathered now. Shopkeepers, ranch hands, women with baskets, all watching, all listening. Eleanor Hayes walked past Marcus and stood next to Cole. My name is Eleanor Hayes. I run the general store. And I want you to know that not everyone in this town agrees with what Victor Brennan does. She looked at the crowd. In fact, I have been talking to folks, getting signatures. 23 people so far who are willing to put their names on a petition calling for an investigation into Victor's conduct. Harassment, abuse of power, using his position as judge to terrorize decent people. Marcus's face had gone pale. You are making a mistake. The only mistake was staying quiet for so long. Victor Brennan has been a blight on this town for years. Time someone stood up to him. Eleanor turned to Claire. You need anything, you come to me. Food, supplies, a place to hide if it comes to that. There are good people here. You are not alone. She walked back into her store. The crowd began to disperse, but slowly people making a point of nodding to Claire and Cole as they passed. Marcus and his men were left standing in the street, suddenly outnumbered not by guns, but by something more powerful, public opinion. This is not over, Marcus said. It never is, Cole replied. They rode back to the ranch in silence. Claire sat close to Cole on the bench, not quite touching, but near enough that he could feel her warmth. The children were quiet in the back, processing everything they had seen. Owen finally spoke. You are really married to my mother now? Yes. Does that make you my father? Cole glanced back at the P. That is up to you. I am your mother's husband. What I am to you, you get to decide. Owen thought about this. Pop has only been dead 4 months. I know, I miss him. I know that too. Do you think he would be angry about you marrying Mama? Cole pulled the wagon to a stop. He turned to face Owen directly. I think your father would want your mother and you children to be safe, to be protected, to have food and shelter and a future. And if marrying her gives you that, then no, I do not think he would be angry. I think he would be grateful. Owen's eyes filled with tears he refused to let fall. I do not want to forget him. You will not. You should not. Your father was who he was and he loved you. I am not trying to replace him. I am just trying to give you what he would want you to have. Safety, a chance. And what do you get? It was a good question, a smart question. I get a reason to wake up in the morning, Cole said quietly. I get a family again. Even if it is not the family I started with, it is still family. And maybe that is enough. The days that followed fell into a rhythm. Cole taught Owen how to care for the horses, showing him how to brush them, how to check their hooves, how to measure grain. The boy was a quick learner, soaking up every piece of information like he was storing it away for future use. Ben followed Cole everywhere, asked endless questions about everything. Why was the sky blue? Where did snow come from? How did chickens make eggs? Cole answered every question with patience that surprised him. He had forgotten he knew how to be patient. And Lily. Lily watched. She stayed close to Claire most of the time, but her eyes followed Cole around the cabin. When he sat by the fire in the evening, working on leather repairs or sharpening knives, she would move closer. Not close enough to touch, but close enough to observe. One week after the wedding, Cole was sitting at the table working on a halter for one of the horses. Claire was mending Owen's shirt. Ben and Owen were playing a game with carved wooden blocks. Lily stood by the window watching the snow fall. Then she turned around. "Mama!" The spoon Claire had been holding clattered to the floor. She stared at her daughter, afraid to believe what she had just heard. "Lily, the snow is pretty." Claire was off her chair and on her knees in an instant, pulling Lily into her arms and tears streaming down her face. Ben started crying too, though he did not fully understand why. Owen stood frozen, staring at his sister like she had just performed a miracle. Cole set down his work and crouched beside them. "Hey there, little one. It is good to hear your voice." Lily looked at him, really looked at him, and then she smiled. It was a small smile, fragile as new ice, but it was real. "You are like Papa," she said quietly. "You are quiet, but you are here." Cole's throat tightened. He reached out and touched her cheek gently. "I am here," he said. "I am not going anywhere." That night, after the children were asleep, Claire found Cole on the porch. He was staring at the stars, his breath misting in the cold air. The encounter with Marcus in town had shaken something loose in him. She could see it in the tension of his shoulders. "You are thinking about something," she said, sitting beside him. Cole was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. "Can I tell you something? Something I have never told anyone. Always. There was a man in Arizona 6 years ago before I met Catherine. I was hunting him for a bounty. He had killed 3 people, including a child. I tracked him for 2 weeks through the desert." Claire waited, sensing this was important. "When I finally caught him, he begged for mercy, said he had a family, said he had changed. I did not believe him." Cole's hands clenched into fists. "I shot him in the back while he was running away. Killed him without giving him a chance." "Cole?" "Afterward, I found out he was telling the truth. He did have a family, a wife and 2 boys. I made them orphans. Just like the man he had killed made someone else orphans." His voice broke. "That is who I am, Claire. That is what I am capable of." Claire reached out and took his hand. "You felt guilty. You have carried it ever since. That is the difference between you and men like Marcus. They feel nothing. You feel everything. It does not change what I did. No, but it means you learn from it. It means you choose carefully now. That is what Catherine saw in you. That is what I see too." Cole pulled her close. "Thank you for listening, for understanding." "Always," she said. She sat beside him, wrapping a blanket around her shoulders. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. "Thank you," Claire said finally, "for what you said to Lily today, for being patient with Owen, for answering all of Ben's questions, for giving us a home. You do not need to thank me." "Yes, I do. You did not have to do any of this. You could have walked away in Ashford, could have let Marcus Grant buy us, could have gone back to your cabin alone, but you did not." Cole looked at her. "I could not walk away. Not after I saw you. Not after I saw Owen ready to fight the whole world. Not after I saw Lily with those empty eyes." He paused. Anna had eyes like that at the end, when the fever was taking her. She stopped talking, just looked at me like she was trying to say something, but the words would not come. I never figured out what she wanted to tell me. Claire took his hand. "Maybe she wanted to tell you it was not your fault. That she loved you, that she did not blame you for being gone. Maybe." "Cole, can I ask you something?" "Yes." "Do you regret marrying me?" He looked at her in surprise. "Why would you think that?" "Because it has only been a week, and already Victor is sending men to watch the ranch. Already you have made an enemy of one of the most powerful men in the territory. Your life was simpler before. My life was empty before." The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. "I spent 4 years in that cabin," Cole continued. 4 years waiting to die because I did not have the courage to do it myself. And then you came along, you and your children. And for the first time in 4 years, I felt something other than grief. I felt needed, useful. Like maybe there was a reason I am still alive." Claire moved closer to him. "I am falling in love with you. I did not mean to. I know this was supposed to be practical. A marriage of convenience. But somewhere between that auction and today, between watching you with my children And seeing you carve flowers on Anna's grave every morning, I started to care about you, and I think you should know that. Cole turned to face her fully. Claire, you do not have to say it back. I know you still love Catherine. I know I am not her. But I needed you to know how I feel. Cole cupped her face in his rough hands. Catherine was my wife. I loved her more than anything. And when she died, I thought I would never love anyone again. I thought that part of me died with her. Did it? No. His thumb traced along her cheekbone. I think it was just sleeping, waiting for a reason to wake up. He kissed her, not on the forehead this time, on the lips, soft and gentle and full of something that might have been hope. When they pulled apart, both were shaking. We should go inside, Claire said. It is cold. Yes, but neither of them moved. They sat on that porch holding each other, watching the stars wheel overhead, and feeling for the first time in a very long time that maybe everything was going to be all right. They should have known better. The attack came 3 weeks after the wedding. It was 4 in the morning. Cole was as always awake. He was sitting on the porch rifle across his lap, watching the road. He had been watching every night since the wedding, knowing that Victor would come eventually. He saw the riders first, 6 of them coming slow and quiet through the pre-dawn darkness. They stopped a quarter-mile away and dismounted, leaving their horses tethered. Cole was moving before they got any closer. He went inside, shook Claire awake. Wake the children. Get them dressed. Now. What is happening? Company, the bad kind. While Claire roused the children, Cole climbed into the loft and pulled out the weapons he had stored there. 2 rifles, 4 pistols, ammunition. He had been preparing for this, hoping it would not come, but knowing it would. He was loading the second rifle when he smelled smoke. The barn was on fire. Cole ran outside. Flames were already climbing the walls, orange and hungry in the darkness. Inside, the horses were screaming. He did not think, just ran toward the fire. The heat hit him like a wall. Smoke filled his lungs. He could not see, could barely breathe. But he could hear the horses, terrified, trapped. He found Copper first. Got her halter, let her out. Went back for Bessie. A beam fell, caught his shoulder, sent him sprawling. Pain exploded down his arm, but he got back up, found Bessie, got her out. When he stumbled clear of the barn, he was bleeding from a gash on his shoulder and coughing so hard he could barely stand. The barn was fully engulfed now. Nothing could save it. Claire was there holding him up, her face white with fear. You are hurt. I am fine. You are bleeding everywhere. I am fine. Then the shooting started. Bullets punched through the cabin walls. Glass shattered. Claire screamed, pulled Cole down behind the water trough. Get inside, Cole said. Get the children to the cellar. What cellar? Under the bedroom, trap door. Get them down there and do not come out until I tell you. Cole? Go. She went. Cole grabbed his rifle and moved to the corner of the cabin where he had a clear view of the tree line. He could see muzzle flashes, count them, 6 men, just like he thought. They were using the burning barn for cover firing at the cabin to keep him pinned down. Cole aimed carefully. Fired, a man cried out. 5 left. He moved positions, fired again. Another hit. 4 left. But they were spreading out now, trying to flank him. And he was alone. One man, even a man who used to be a Texas Ranger, could not hold off 4 attackers forever. He was reloading when he heard the horse. A single rider coming fast up the road. Cole swung his rifle toward the sound, then stopped. The rider wore a deputy's badge. James Mercer. And behind him 3 more riders. Good men. Men Cole recognized from his old life. The shooting stopped. The 4 attackers melted back into the trees, outgunned and outnumbered now. Mercer dismounted. You all right? Barn is gone. Horses are safe. Family is in the cellar. Good, because this is not over. Victor sent those men. They will be back. I know. I brought help, men I trust, but we need more. We need to make this public. Make it so Victor cannot move against you without everyone knowing. Cole looked at his burning barn, at the bullet holes in his cabin, at the blood running down his arm. What do you suggest? We go to the territorial marshal, file charges, get Eleanor's petition in front of someone who has authority over Victor. Mercer put a hand on Cole's shoulder. But it will take time, days, maybe a week. Can you hold out that long? I can hold as long as I need to. Claire emerged from the cabin with the children. Owen ran to Cole, then stopped when he saw the blood. "You are hurt." "Just a scratch." "That is not a scratch. That is a lot of blood." Cole looked down at his arm. The gash was deeper than he thought. He was starting to feel dizzy. "Maybe you are right." He sat down heavily. Claire was there immediately, tearing fabric to make bandages, her hands steady despite the fear in her eyes. "You saved the horses," she said. "Had to. They are family, too." She looked at him, at this man who would run into a burning building to save animals, who would stand alone against 6 armed men to protect people he barely knew, who had carved her late husband's name into a memorial marker without being asked because he understood grief. "I love you," she said. "I know it has only been 3 weeks. I know this started as convenience. But I love you, Cole Hartley, and I need you to know that before anything else happens." Cole cupped her face with his good hand. "I love you too. I did not think I could. Did not think I had it in me anymore. But you proved me wrong." He kissed her, there in the snow with his barn burning and bullets in his walls and 4 children watching. He kissed her like a man who had just remembered what it felt like to be alive. When they pulled apart, Owen was staring at them. Then slowly, carefully, he spoke. "Does this mean you are really my father now? Not just by law, but for real?" Cole looked at the boy, at the hope and fear warring in his young face. "If you want me to be?" "I do." Owen's voice cracked. "I want a father. I miss Pop every day. But I want you too. Is that wrong?" "No." Cole reached out and pulled Owen close. "That is not wrong at all. Your father would want you to be loved, to be protected. And that is what I am going to do. I am going to love you and protect you for as long as I live." Owen broke down then, sobbed into Cole's chest while Claire held Ben and Lily close, while the barn burned itself out behind them, while the sun began to rise on a new day that promised more violence, but also something else, something worth fighting for. Family. The next week brought more riders. Not attackers this time, but allies. Mercer made good on his promise, bringing men who owed Cole favors from the old days, men who had fought beside him, men who trusted him with their lives. By the end of the week, there were 6 of them camped around the ranch. Tom Fletcher, a cavalry scout with a missing ear and a grin that made him look younger than his 50 years. The Preston twins, Daniel and Patrick, who finished each other's sentences and moved like they shared one mind. Old Man Reeves, who did not talk much but watched everything with eyes that missed nothing. And Daniel Redwood, a Cherokee tracker who had saved Cole's life twice in the territories. They rebuilt the barn working together while Cole's shoulder healed. They reinforced the cabin, set up watch rotations, prepared for the fight they all knew was coming. Daniel Redwood spent time with Lily. He would sit with her by the fire carving small animals from wood, never pushing her to talk, but always present. Steady. One evening, Lily brought him a piece of leather she had been working on, trying to sew it the way Cole had shown her. "You have old eyes," Daniel said gently. "Eyes that have seen too much for someone so young." "You have sad eyes too," Lily replied. "Yes, I lost my family when I was young. Watched them taken by soldiers. I understand what it means to see something you cannot forget." "Does it get better?" "Sometimes when you find new people to love, when you let yourself feel safe again." He smiled at her. "You are safe here, little one. These men, they will protect you. Your new father, he is a good man." Lily looked at Cole, who was working with Owen on the barn roof. "He is sad too, like you, like me." "Yes, but he is getting less sad. Because of you, because of your mother and brothers. Sometimes healing someone else helps us heal ourselves." Eleanor Hayes came twice a week with supplies and news. Victor was furious about the marriage, but could not move openly against Cole without risking public outrage. Eleanor's petition had grown to 43 signatures now, nearly half the town, half the Bastondanina. But Marcus Grant was recruiting men, offering money, building a force. "War is coming," Eleanor said on her last visit. "The marshal is investigating, but it takes time. Victor is running out of patience." "Let him come," Cole said. "We are ready." That night, Cole and Claire lay together in the bedroom while the children slept. They had not been intimate yet. Cole had given her space, knowing she was still processing everything that had happened. But tonight she moved closer, her hand finding his. "Cole, yes, I am scared. I know. Not for me, for the children, for you. If Victor comes with enough men, then we fight, and we win or we do not. But either way, I will not let him take you. She turned to face him in the darkness. Promise me something. Anything. If it comes down to it, if it looks like we are going to lose you, take the children and run. You save them, even if it means leaving me. No. Cole, no. His voice was firm. We all survive, or none of us do. That is the promise. We are a family now. Families do not leave each other behind. She kissed him then, desperately, like she was trying to memorize the feel of him. They made love for the first time as husband and wife, gentle and careful, aware of her pregnancy, aware of the danger outside, but choosing this moment of connection anyway. Afterward, Claire lay with her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. I was so angry at God, she said quietly, when Robert died, when Victor hunted us, when they put us on that auction block. I thought God had abandoned me, abandoned my children. And now I think maybe he had a plan. Maybe he needed to bring me to the lowest point so I could find you, so you could find us. She traced patterns on his chest. Does that sound crazy? No, Catherine used to say God works in ways we cannot understand, that sometimes the worst things lead to the best things. Do you believe that? Cole was quiet for a moment. I am starting to. They fell asleep like that, tangled together, stealing a few hours of peace before the storm. The attack came at dawn 2 days later. Cole woke to gunfire. Not a few shots, but a sustained barrage. He rolled out of bed, grabbed his rifle, was at the window in seconds. 15 men, maybe more, surrounding the ranch. This was not a raid. This was a siege. Get the children to the cellar, Cole shouted. Now! Claire was already moving. Owen had Ben and Lily hustling them toward the bedroom. Cole could hear his men returning fire from their positions around the property. Tom Fletcher was hit first. Cole saw him go down, clutching his shoulder. The Preston twins dragged him to cover behind the water trough. Daniel Redwood was holding the Southside rifle, barking steadily. Old Man Reeves had the north, but there were too many attackers. They were being overwhelmed. Cole moved to the door, ready to join the fight when it burst open. Marcus Grant stood there, gun drawn, 3 men behind him. Morning, Hartley. We are here for the woman and the children. You can make this easy, or you can make it hard. Either way, we are taking them. Cole raised his rifle. You will have to go through me. Happy to. Then Owen stepped out from the bedroom. He had Cole's spare pistol. His hands were shaking, but his aim was steady. Leave my mother alone. Marcus turned surprised. For a moment, nobody moved. Then Owen fired. The bullet hit Marcus in the shoulder, spinning him around. He dropped his gun, clutching the wound, his face a mask of shock and pain. The 3 men with him froze. This was not what they had signed up for. Getting shot by a 10-year-old boy. Cole used the moment. 3 shots, all 3 men down. Not dead, but wounded enough to be out of the fight. Outside, the gunfire intensified. Cole could hear Victor's voice now shouting orders. The man himself had come. This was personal. Back door, Cole said. Claire, take the children. Daniel knows where to go. I am not leaving you. You are. You are getting our children to safety. That is your job. Mine is to hold them here long enough for you to get away. Cole, go, please. I will find you. I promise, she kissed him. Hard and fast. Then she grabbed the children and ran. Cole watched them disappear into the trees, Daniel Redwood leading them, then turned back to the fight. He had bought them time. Now he just had to survive long enough to see them again. Outside, Victor Brennan stood in the snow, immaculate in his black coat, watching his men swarm the ranch. He saw Cole in the doorway and smiled. You should have stayed out of it, Hartley. Should have let me have what is mine. She was never yours. She is family. Those children are Brennan blood. They belong with me. They belong with their mother, who is my wife now. Legally, a fact you cannot change no matter how many men you bring. Victor's smile faded. We will see about that. He raised his hand. His men surged forward. And Cole Hartley, former Texas Ranger widower and newly made father, raised his rifle and prepared to fight for the only thing that mattered. His family. The world narrowed to fire and smoke and the crack of rifles. Cole moved through the chaos with the kind of calm that comes from having done this too many times before. He fired, reloaded, fired again. Each shot deliberate, each shot counting. But there were too many of them. Tom Fletcher was down bleeding from his shoulder. The Preston twins were pinned behind the water trough, unable to move without exposing themselves to crossfire. Old Man Reeves had taken a bullet to the leg and was dragging himself toward cover. Cole was alone in the doorway, holding the line, buying time for Claire and the children to get away. He could see Daniel Redwood's tracks in the snow leading into the forest. They had maybe 10 minutes head start. Maybe less. He needed to give them more. Another wave of Victor's men rushed the cabin. Cole dropped 2 of them, wounded a third. But they kept coming, like a tide that could not be stopped. Then he heard it. Hoofbeats. Lots of them. Coming fast from the south. For a moment, Cole thought it was reinforcements for Victor. More men, more guns, the end of everything. But then he saw the badges. Territorial Marshal Harold Blackwood rode at the head of a column of 10 deputies, their horses churning snow as they thundered into the ranch yard. They did not hesitate, did not ask questions, just started arresting Victor's men with the kind of efficiency that comes from legal authority backed by firepower. Victor stood in the center of it all, his immaculate black coat spattered with mud, now his face twisted with rage and disbelief. "You cannot do this," he shouted at Blackwood. "I am a judge. I have authority here." "You were a judge," Blackwood said calmly. "As of this morning, you have been suspended pending investigation into charges of corruption, abuse of power, and attempted murder. Marshal's orders. You are under arrest." 2 deputies moved to restrain Victor. He fought them, twisting and shouting, and all pretense of dignity abandoned. "Those children are mine. That woman is mine. My brother's property comes to me." "That woman is married," Blackwood said. "Those children have a legal stepfather. You have no claim. And even if you did, burning a man's barn and laying siege to his home with 15 armed men is not the legal way to pursue it." Victor's eyes found Cole in the doorway. "This is not over. You hear me, Hartley? This is not over." "Yes," Cole said quietly. "It is." They took Victor away in chains, arrested Marcus Grant and 12 of his men. Marcus, still nursing the shoulder wound from Owen's bullet, would face separate charges for assault and arson. His testimony against Victor, given in exchange for a reduced sentence, had been instrumental in the conviction. The others had fled into the mountains when they saw the marshal coming. Cole stood on his porch watching them go, his rifle still in his hands. His shoulder was bleeding again from the exertion. His clothes were scorched from the barn fire, but he was alive, and his family was safe. Blackwood approached, removing his hat. "Cole Hartley, it has been a long time." "Harold," Cole recognized him now. They had worked together years ago before Catherine died, before Cole stopped being a ranger and became a ghost. "Got word from James Mercer about your situation. He rode day and night to reach me. Said you needed help and needed it fast." Blackwood looked at the bullet-riddled cabin, the smoldering barn. "Looks like he was right." "How did you know to come today?" "We did not. We were coming to serve the warrant on Victor. Found 43 signatures on a petition accusing him of corruption. Could not ignore that. The attack on your place, that was just bad timing for him." "Good timing for you." Cole's legs suddenly felt weak. He sat down heavily on the porch steps. "My wife, my children. They ran into the forest with Daniel Redwood. I need to find them. You need a doctor first. That shoulder looks bad." "After. Family first." Blackwood studied him. "You always were stubborn. All right, I will send men to find them. Bring them back safe. You sit here and try not to bleed to death." Cole wanted to argue, but his vision was starting to blur. The adrenaline was wearing off and the pain was coming in hard. He nodded. "Thank you. Thank Mercer. He is the one who saved you. Man rode his horse near to death to get me that warrant." Blackwood put his hat back on. "And Cole, I am sorry about Catherine and your girls. I heard about it, but I never came to see you. Should have. There was nothing you could have done. Maybe not, but I should have tried anyway." He walked away, calling orders to his men. Cole sat on the steps and watched the sun rise higher, painting the snow red and gold. His hands were shaking now. The rifle slipped from his fingers. Tom Fletcher limped over his shoulder, bandaged. "You did good, boss. Held them off until help came. That is all that matters." "Owen," Cole said, The boy shot Marcus, 10 years old, and he shot a man. What does that do to a child? Saves his family, that is what it does. You can worry about the rest later. They found Claire and the children an hour later. Daniel Redwood had taken them to a cave 2 miles into the forest, a place he knew from his hunting days. A place where they could hide and be safe while the battle raged. When Claire saw Cole, she ran to him. Her hands went to his face, checking for injuries, her eyes wide with fear. You are alive. They said you were hurt, but you are alive. I am fine. You are covered in blood. Most of it is not mine. She hit him, hard, right in the chest. Then she hit him again. Then she was crying and holding him and hitting him all at the same time. You promised you would come back. I did come back. You could have died. You could have left us alone, left me alone. I know, I am sorry. She buried her face in his chest and sobbed. Cole held her, stroking her hair, murmuring words that meant nothing and everything. Behind her, Owen stood apart. The boy was pale, shaking. His eyes had the same empty look that Lily's had carried for so long. Cole gently moved Claire aside and crouched in front of Owen. You saved us. You know that if you had not shot Marcus when you did, we would all be dead or captured. You gave me the seconds I needed to take down his men. Owen's voice was barely a whisper. I shot a man. Yes. I heard him scream. Yes. Does that make me bad? Like the men who killed Pop? Cole put his hands on Owen's shoulders. No. Those men killed your father by being careless, by not caring about safety, by putting profit over lives. You shot Marcus to protect your family. There is a difference, a big difference. I do not feel different. I just feel scared. Good. Being scared means you understand what you did, means you are not like Marcus. He shoots people and feels nothing. You shot one person to save 5, and it tears you up inside. That is how it should be. Will I always feel like this? I do not know. Maybe. But it will get easier, and you will learn to live with it. And every time you look at your mother and your brothers and your sister and know they are alive because of what you did, it will hurt a little less. Owen threw his arms around Cole's neck and held on like he was drowning. Cole lifted him up, this boy who had tried so hard to be a man, and carried him back to the wagon like the child he should have been allowed to be. The doctor came that afternoon. Henry Morrison, 68 years old and still sharp as the scalpels he carried. He cleaned and stitched Cole's shoulder, set old man Reeves's broken leg, and checked on Claire and the baby. Baby is fine, he pronounced, but you need rest, real rest. No more running, no more fighting, or this child is going to come early, and neither of you wants that. We are not running anymore, Claire said. Are we, Cole? Cole looked at her. At the strength in her face, at the determination. No, we are done running. The trial took place 6 weeks later in the territorial capital. They made the journey in late February, leaving the children with Eleanor Hayes and Pastor Allen. It was the first time Claire had been separated from them since the auction, and the worry gnawed at her constantly. But they had to go, had to see this through. The courtroom was packed. People from Silver Creek had made the journey, including many of the 43 who had signed Eleanor's petition. They filled the gallery, a silent testament to how many lives Victor Brennan had touched with his cruelty. Victor sat at the defendant's table in chains. His expensive suit was rumpled now. His hair had gone gray at the temples. He looked smaller somehow, diminished, like removing his power had removed part of his physical presence as well. The charges were read: attempted murder, arson, kidnapping, corruption, abuse of power, conspiracy. The list went on and on. Victor's lawyer was good. He argued that his client had been exercising his legal rights as guardian, that the marriage was a sham designed to circumvent the law, that Cole Hartley had kidnapped Claire and the children, not protected them. The prosecutor called witness after witness. Eleanor Hayes testified about the petition. James Mercer testified about Victor's threats. Marshall Blackwood testified about the evidence found in Victor's saddlebags. Letters ordering Marcus Grant to use any means necessary to retrieve the children. But it was Claire's testimony that changed everything. She took the stand on the 3rd day. 7 months pregnant, now moving slowly but with her head held high. The prosecutor asked her to tell her story, to explain what had happened. She started with Robert's death. described Lily witnessing it, described how her daughter had stopped speaking. Then Victor's visit, his demands, his threats. He did not see me as a person, Claire said, her voice steady and clear. He saw me as an obstacle, something in the way of what he wanted. And what he wanted was control. Control over my children, control over Robert's inheritance, control over me. Why do you think he wanted that control? The prosecutor asked. Claire looked directly at Victor. Because he spent his whole life being second. Second to Robert in his father's eyes. Second in the town's affection. Second in everything. And when Robert died, he saw a chance to finally be first. To finally have what he thought should have been his all along. The children, the property, the legacy. Did you want his help? No. Did you need his help? No, I needed safety. I needed protection from him. And I found that in Cole Hartley. The prosecutor walked her through the 3 months of running. The auction, the marriage, the attacks. Mrs. Hartley, your son, Owen, shot Marcus Grant during the siege. Can you tell us about that? Claire's voice faltered for the first time. Owen is 10 years old. He should be playing, learning to read, asking questions about the world. Instead, he had to become a man at 9 years old when his father died. He had to protect his mother through 3 months of running and hiding. He had to stand on an auction block and raise his fists against grown men. And he had to use a gun at 10 years old to save his family from armed men who broke into our home. And that is Victor Brendan's doing. That is what his obsession cost my child, innocence. The courtroom was silent. Do you hate Victor Brennan? The prosecutor asked. Claire thought about it. No, I pity him, because he had a chance to be good, to use his power to help people, to honor his brother's memory by caring for Robert's family. And he chose cruelty instead. He chose control, and now he has lost everything. His position, his reputation, his freedom, and he did it all to himself. She looked at the jury, 12 men weathered and serious. I am asking you not for revenge, not for justice for me, but for protection. For every other woman who might cross his path. For every other family he might decide belongs to him. For every other person who might stand in his way. Please do not let him hurt anyone else. She stepped down. The courtroom remained silent as she made her way back to her seat beside Cole. He took her hand and squeezed it. She squeezed back. Victor's lawyer tried to rehabilitate his client, called witnesses who testified to Victor's generosity, his charitable donations, his service to the community. But the jury had already made up their minds. They deliberated for less than an hour, guilty on all counts. When the verdict was read, Victor's face went white. He turned to Claire, his composure finally breaking. This is not over. You hear me? You are mine. Those children are mine. You will always be mine. Cole stood, his voice cut through Victor's shouting like a blade. No, she is not yours. She never was. And now the whole world knows it. The judge banged his gavel. Order. Victor Brennan, you have been found guilty of multiple counts of attempted murder, arson, and corruption. This court sentences you to hang by the neck until dead. Sentenced to be carried out in 30 days. Victor lunged toward Claire. The deputies restrained him, but he kept shouting, kept twisting, kept trying to reach her. You are mine. Mine. I loved Robert, but you were always mine. From the first day I saw you. You should have been my wife. Those children should have been my children. And there it was, the truth beneath all the justifications. Not duty, not family honor, not protecting Robert's legacy, but obsession, possession. Love twisted into something dark and consuming. They dragged him away, still shouting. The courtroom erupted in applause. Eleanor Hayes was crying. Pastor Allen was praying. And Claire sat very still, one hand on her belly, the other in Cole's, and let herself finally believe it was over. They did not stay for the execution. Cole had seen enough death in his life. Claire had no desire to watch any man die, even one who had caused her so much suffering. Instead, they went home, back to the ranch, back to the children who ran to meet them. Ben, Lee, and Lily laughing, Owen trying to be serious, but breaking into a smile when Claire hugged him. Is it over? Owen asked. Is he gone? Yes, Cole said. He is gone, and he is never coming back. That night, Owen came to Cole where he sat on the porch. Can I ask you something? Always. Do you think about the men you killed when you were a ranger? Cole was quiet for a long moment. Yes, every day. Does it get easier? No, but you learn to live with it. You learn that some things are worth the purtin, and you make sure you never do it unless you have to. Never take a life unless there is no other choice. I had no other choice. Did I? No, you did what you had to do to protect your family, and that is not something to be ashamed of. But it is something to be serious about. To respect. Life is precious. Even the lives of men like Marcus Grant. You did not take his life lightly. That is what matters. Owen was quiet thinking. Then, can I call you Pa now, for real? Cole's throat tightened. I would like that, if you are sure. I am sure. Pop will always be Pop, but you are Pa. And that is different, but it is also good. Cole pulled Owen into a hug. Over the boy's shoulder, he could see Claire watching from the doorway, tears on her face. I love you, son. I love you too, Pa. 3 weeks after the trial, Claire went into labor. It was 2 in the morning. Cole was, as always, awake. He had been sitting at the table working on a piece of leather when Claire emerged from the bedroom. It is time. Cole was on his feet instantly. How long have you been in labor? 3 hours. 3 hours? Why did you not wake me sooner? Because you need to ride to town and get Dr. Morrison. And I did not want you worrying while I waited. Cole rode faster than he had ever ridden in his life, pushed his horse to the edge of what was safe, and then pushed a little more. Got Dr. Morrison out of bed, got him on a horse, and had him back at the ranch within 2 hours. By then, Claire was deep in labor. Owen had taken charge of Ben and Lily, keeping them occupied in the main room while the adults worked. Cole stayed with Claire, held her hand when the contractions hit, wiped her forehead with cool cloth, whispered encouragement when her strength flagged. I cannot do this, she gasped at one point. It hurts too much. You can. You are the strongest person I know. I am not strong, I am tired. Then borrow my strength. Use it. I am not going anywhere. She gripped his hand so hard he thought she might break bones. But he did not pull away, just held on and let her take what she needed. The baby came at dawn, a girl, tiny and perfect, with a shock of dark hair and lungs that worked just fine based on how loud she screamed. Dr. Morrison cleaned her, wrapped her, and placed her in Claire's arms. Congratulations. You have a healthy daughter. Cole looked at this tiny person who had just entered the world, who would never know Victor Brennan or the fear that had haunted her mother, who would grow up safe and loved and protected. She is beautiful, he said. She is perfect. Claire looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. Do you want to hold her? Cole reached out with shaking hands and took the baby. She was so small, so fragile. He had forgotten what it felt like to hold a newborn, to feel that weight of absolute responsibility. The bedroom door cracked open. 3 faces peered in. Owen, Ben, and Lily, unable to wait any longer. Come meet your sister, Claire said. They crept in like they were entering a church, stood beside the bed staring at the baby with wide eyes. She is so tiny, Ben whispered. You were that tiny once, Claire said. What is her name? Owen asked. Claire looked at Cole. They had talked about names but never decided. Now seeing this new life in the middle of all the death and struggle they had survived, only one name felt right. Faith, Claire said. Her name is Faith. Why Faith? Lily asked. She was talking more now, her voice growing stronger every day. Because she is what kept us going. Faith that things would get better. Faith that we would survive. Faith that we would find a home. Claire reached out and touched Lily's cheek. Faith is what brought us to your pa, and faith is what will carry us forward. Cole looked at his family, at Claire exhausted but smiling, at Owen standing tall and proud, at Ben already making faces at the baby, at Lily, her eyes full of wonder instead of emptiness. And he felt something he had not felt in 4 years, something he thought had died with Catherine and Anna and Rose. Hope. 2 months after Faith was born, Cole took Claire to the garden behind the cabin. It was spring now, the snow had melted. Green shoots were pushing up through the earth. The world was coming back to life. He had spent the last week working on something. Carving, sanding, painting, making it perfect. Close your eyes, he said. Claire laughed but obeyed. He led her to the far corner of the garden where he had planted flowers, where the sun hit just right in the afternoons. Open! She opened her eyes and saw the memorial, a wooden marker beautifully carved with 3 names and 3 faces etched into the wood. Catherine Hartley, Anna Hartley, Rose Hartley, and beneath their names new words. Part of us. Always. Claire's hand went to her mouth. Cole, I want to tell the children about them, about Catherine and Anna and Rose, about who they were, what they loved, how they laughed. I do not want them forgotten, but I also do not want them separate from this family. They are part of us, part of what made me who I am, part of what brought me to you. Claire reached out and touched the marker, traced the carved faces. Tell me about them. Please, I want to know. So Cole did. For the first time since they died, he talked about his first family without the conversation being about grief. He told stories, happy stories, funny stories, stories about Catherine's terrible cooking and Anna's obsession with collecting rocks and Rose's fear of chickens. He laughed, actually laughed, and it did not feel like a betrayal. It felt like remembering, like honoring, like love. Catherine would have liked you, he said. She would have approved, would have said I needed someone strong, someone who would not let me wallow. Did you wallow for 4 years straight? And now, Cole looked at the cabin, at Owen teaching Ben how to chop wood, at Lily sitting on the porch with Faith in her lap singing softly, at this life they had built from $12 and desperation. Now I am living again. Claire took his hand. Good, because I need you to live. The children need you to live. Faith needs her father. I am not her father. Not really. She is Robert's child. No, you are her father. You were there when she was born. You held her first. You walk the floor with her at night when she cries. You are teaching her brothers and sister to be good people. Blood does not make a father. Love does. And you love her. I see it every time you look at her. Cole pulled Claire close. I love all of you, more than I thought I could love anything again. I know. They stood together in the garden while spring bloomed around them and the ghosts of the past stood beside them as friends, not as burdens. 6 months after Faith was born, Claire woke to the smell of something burning. She rushed to the kitchen expecting disaster and found Cole standing at the stove with a spatula looking at a pan of what might have once been pancakes but now resembled charcoal. What are you doing, making breakfast? For our anniversary. Claire looked at him, at this man who had saved her life and then given her a new one, who had taken her terrified, traumatized children and loved them like his own, who held her at night when nightmares came, who played with Faith and carved toys for the moths and sat patiently with Lily while she read haltingly from the books Pastor Allen had given her. Our anniversary. 1 year. 1 year since I bought you for $12. 13. You paid 13 to outbid Marcus. 12. The auction said 12. I just threw in an extra dollar to make sure. He grinned. It was a rare thing Cole smiled, but when it came, it lit up his whole face. Best $12 I ever spent. Claire started laughing. You bought a wife and 4 children for $12, and you think that is a good deal. Best deal of my life. Owen came out of the bedroom, followed by Ben and Lily. They looked at the burned pancakes and the smoke, and their parents laughing like fools. What is happening? Owen asked. Your pa is trying to cook, Claire said. That explains the smoke. I can cook. I have cooked plenty of times. Beans do not count as cooking, pa, Ben said. Beans are just beans. I made cornbread once. Once, Lily said solemnly, and it was like eating rocks. Traitors. I save your lives, and this is the thanks I get. But he was smiling. They were all smiling. Faith had started crying from the bedroom, and Lily went to get her, bringing her out to join the chaos. Claire took over the cooking, making real pancakes, while Cole sat at the table with Faith in his arms. The baby was 6 months old now, starting to recognize faces, starting to smile when Cole talked to her in that soft voice he saved just for her. She has your eyes, Owen said, looking at the baby. No, Cole said. She has her mother's eyes. All of you do. But you are our pa now, so maybe we are starting to look like you too. Cole looked at Owen, at this boy who had grown 3 inches in the last year, who was reading at an 8th grade level, who still had nightmares sometimes but was learning to live with them, who called him Pa without hesitation now. Maybe, Cole said, or maybe we are just becoming a family, and families start to look like each other because they belong together. They ate breakfast together, the pancakes were good, better than good, and afterward Cole told the children to get their coats. "Where are we going?" Ben asked. "Town, to see Eleanor. She has something for you." They took the wagon. It was a beautiful April day, warm enough that the children could ride in the back without freezing. They sang songs, made up stories. Ben asked 17 questions about why the sky was blue, and Owen tried to explain and got it mostly wrong, but nobody corrected him because the trying was what mattered. In town, Eleanor was waiting with packages wrapped in brown paper. "Happy anniversary," she said. "I heard it was today." Word travels fast. In a town this small, word travels instantly. "These are for the children." She handed out the packages. Owen opened his to find books, real books, adventures and mysteries and stories about the world beyond their small corner of Colorado. Ben got a set of wooden soldiers hand-carved and painted. Lily got fabric and thread and a sewing kit of her own. And Faith got a stuffed rabbit that Lily immediately claimed she would keep safe for the baby until she was old enough to appreciate it. "Thank you," Claire said. "You did not have to do this." "Yes, I did. You are family now. We take care of family." Pastor Allen came by while they were visiting. He looked older than he had a year ago, moving slower, but his smile was the same. "Heard it was your anniversary, wanted to congratulate you, and to say I am glad I married you. Best decision I made all year, standing up to Victor Brennan." "Did you ever regret it?" Cole asked. "After everything that happened, the siege, the arrest, the trial." "Not for a moment. God puts people in our paths for a reason. You needed each other. And this family, this beautiful, loud, chaotic family you have built, that is proof that sometimes the worst circumstances lead to the best outcomes." They stayed in town for lunch, ate at the small restaurant on Main Street. People stopped by their table to say hello, to welcome them, to ask about Faith, and tell Owen how tall he was getting, and compliment Lily on her dress. These were their neighbors now, their community, their home. On the ride back with the sun setting and the children drowsy in the back of the wagon, Claire leaned against Cole's shoulder. "Do you ever think about that day, the auction?" "Every day." "What do you think about—" Cole was quiet for a moment, choosing his words. "I think about how close I came to not going to town that day. How I almost stayed at the ranch. How I was down to my last $4 and almost decided I could live without coffee for another week." He paused. "I think about how different my life would be if I had made that choice. If I had not been there. If I had not seen you on that platform. You would still be alone. I would still be dying, slowly, one day at a time, waiting for a reason that never came. And now I have 4 children who need me to teach them things, a wife who needs me to burn pancakes for her, a baby who needs me to walk the floor at 2 in the morning when she cannot sleep. I have a purpose. I have a reason to wake up. I have a family." Claire kissed his cheek. "I love you, Cole Hartley. I love you too, all of you." That night, after the children were in the cabin was quiet, Cole and Claire sat on the porch like they did most evenings. The stars were bright. The air was cool but not cold. Spring was fully here now, bringing with it the promise of summer and growth and life continuing. "Can I tell you something?" Claire asked. "Anything." "I am pregnant again." Cole turned to look at her and, "You are sure?" "Very sure, about 3 months. The baby should come in October." "How do you feel about it?" "Terrified, happy, overwhelmed." She laughed. "We will have 5 children, Cole. A year ago I had 3 and could barely feed them. Now we will have 5. We can handle 5. How do you know?" "Because we handled everything else. Because we survived Victor, Brennan, and sieges and trials, and starting over from nothing. We can handle one more baby." Claire leaned her head on his shoulder. "You are right, we can handle anything." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars wheel overhead. Somewhere in the cabin, Faith started to cry. Cole stood to go get her, but Owen's voice drifted out. "I have her, Pa. Go back to sleep." Cole smiled, sat back down. "That boy is going to make a good man." He already is a good man. You made him one. We made him one. Together. The crying stopped. Owen must have gotten Faith back to sleep. The cabin settled into quiet again. What are you thinking about? Claire asked. Cole looked at the life they had built. The cabin that was home. The barn they had rebuilt together. The garden where Catherine and Anna and Rose's memorial stood alongside the vegetables they grew. The corral where horses waited. The children sleeping safe and warm. The wife beside him who had taught him how to live again. I am thinking about $12, he said. About what that bought me. And how people always say, you cannot put a price on happiness. But I did. $12. That was the price. 13, Claire corrected. 12, Cole insisted. The auction said 12. We are going to argue about this forever, are not we? Probably, she laughed. He laughed. And somewhere inside the cabin, one of the children laughed too, probably at some dream, and the sound of it echoed in the spring night like the best kind of promise. This was not the life Cole had planned, not the family he had imagined. When he woke up that January morning a year ago, preparing to ride to town for coffee, he had expected to come back to an empty cabin and 3 graves and the endless gray nothingness of grief. Instead, he had found a desperate woman and 3 terrified children and a reason to feel something other than sadness. He had found his family, not by blood, not by plan, not by any reasonable expectation, but by $12 and a choice to do something right when everything else felt wrong. And that Cole thought as he sat on that porch with his wife beside him and his children sleeping soundly and another baby on the way, that was worth more than all the gold in Colorado. The stars continued their endless wheel. The night deepened, and in a small cabin in the mountains, a family that had been bought for $12 slept peacefully, dreaming of tomorrow, and all the tomorrows after that, knowing they were safe and loved and home. The $12 family, worth more than anything money could buy, worth everything.